Hello and welcome to today's webinar, How to Get Bible Study Interests Even During COVID-19. Here in Vancouver, Washington, we're in week 9 of the governor's stay-at-home order, but we're excited to be able to share with you some ways to find people who want to study the Bible with you even with everything shut down with the stay-at-home orders. I'm Larry Witzel, founder and president of SermonView Evangelism Marketing. Here at SermonView, we have a passion for ministry, and we are nerds for marketing. We're in our 15th year now of helping local churches reach more people with the everlasting gospel.
I'm going to be with you guys too. My name is Vince Williams. I'm the co-founder and vice president of SermonView. I am one of those nerds for marketing. I've been doing it for 25 plus years. Spent over the last 15 years focused on serving the church, even though it says over 10 on this slide. I really specialize in funnel development and lead generation marketing, which is a lot of what we're going to be covering today. So I'm excited to get into that.
In today's webinar, we're going to look at several things. We're going to talk about how to reach people through paid online advertising, how that all works, and why that's going to be an important part of your evangelism marketing strategy. We're going to be introducing our all-new InterestGenerator program, which does just that with online advertising. But we'll also talk about some ways to track interactions with interests on their way to membership using our InterestTracker software and how InterestGenerator integrates with InterestTracker. And finally, we'll look at tips for how to interact with people who want to study the Bible during this season of stay-at-home orders, COVID-19, and all of that. And then we'll also have a few minutes at the end to be able to answer any questions.
So a little housekeeping before we get started here. Our goal is to keep this presentation to right around the 30-minute mark before we get to questions and answers. During the webinar, I see we already have a couple chats. We are going to be monitoring the chat system for comments, all related to technical issues. So hopefully our team is responding to anything there. But if you have questions during the presentation, you can feel free to hold them or just enter them into the Q&A screen, which we have enabled for you guys, and we will address them at the end of the presentation.
As we get started, please pray with me. Our Father in heaven, Lord, we just want to pause and acknowledge you as the Lord of the harvest. And I pray that you'll bless our time together. I pray for every person that's on this webinar, for every ministry that's represented, every local church. Lord, I just pray for a great harvest for your kingdom through our joint efforts. Be with us now, and I pray this in the name of Jesus. Amen. Amen. All right, let's get started with a poll. What methods are you using to find people in your community that are interested in the Bible? This is multiple choice, mark all of them that apply. Direct mail, door hangers, going door to door, maybe display racks with literature, community service and compassion ministries, members inviting friends and family, online advertising.
All right. Well, that's a great level of participation. Thank you, guys. The winner, and can I just say, I'm really glad to see that you guys are allowing and using members, inviting friends and family to your church as a method for church growth, because that is something I think we can all just agree on and is something that should happen more. If it happened as regularly as it should, I think the landscape of the church as a whole would look completely different, obviously. So there's some other things that you guys did say out of that. Community service and compassion ministries is high up there. Online advertising, you guys are already using some of that. Number 3 is direct mail, which really kind of brings us into the initial conversation that we're going to have here today. We know that community service and compassion ministries is a very strong way to reach in your community, and we highly recommend that. Obviously, members inviting people is powerful. The issue that we're talking about here is really more of a cold marketing. And cold marketing is really when we're just reaching out to people that have never heard about our church or about what it is that we want to do. And so in those regards, we have direct mail, door hangers, online advertising. Bible study card mailers have traditionally been, and it looks to be, according to the poll results here, still one of the dominant methods. However, today, Bible study card mailers have some challenges that online advertising fixes. And so I really wanted to just kind of start with a breakdown there and take a look at this. Now, first I want to say we are a direct mail house. We have nothing against direct mail, and there's a great time and place for it. Event marketing is a perfect use, and we have great data to show how strong a vehicle that is in that regard. But when you talk about Bible study interests, there are some limitations that Bible study cards have. Direct mail audiences, as you can see now, have a targeting problem. And really what that comes down to is that Bible study card mailers have to go wide. Mailers, to get the lowest cost, have to go as wide as possible. So for those of you who've done substantial mailings in the past, you realize that to get that low postage rate, that 8.5, that 9-cent postage rate, so you're not wasting money on postage, you have to blanket an area, whether that's a carrier route or a zip code. Now you can do some demographic analysis, but it really doesn't tell you who's home to home to home. So this just wastes the church's resources as you're just kind of blanketing an area hoping to target people. Online marketing, however, works completely differently. The better an audience is constructed, the lower the cost is. So targeting becomes the goal with an online ad, where it's a little different with those Bible study card mailers. So now the responsibility of finding your best prospects with online program is working with that platform to find the audience. Plus, we're in a day and age of curated content. That means that when people are looking for something, they want to see something specific to them, and online advertising takes advantage of that. Point number 2, mailers can waste money. To be cost effective, mailers require a large amount of minimums. You have to print them. Printing costs money, and it's cheaper as you go farther down the road. Plus, you're limited, as we just mentioned, to zip codes and carrier routes. This also means that testing is cumbersome. You would have to do a large number of mailings to really understand whether or not it's an effective offer in your community. Online marketing is incredibly flexible. It offers flexible budgets and allows for quick and continuous testing, so little money is wasted and you're as effective as you can be. Number 3, mailers lack an interactive experience. What do I mean by that? Well, problem we hear all the time with Bible study card mailers is that somebody receives a card in the mail, and then they respond to that offer in the mail, and then they expect to see an offer come back to them in the mail. With an online offer, we get the opportunity to communicate with them throughout the process. It's more interactive. They give us information, we give them feedback. In fact, there are multiple points of interaction before you, as the church, even connect with them, whether that's a confirmation notification after they sign up, whether that's a notification email. All of these elements help build that relational environment before that first point of contact versus that really cold marketing experience of you getting a card and then showing up potentially at their door. In this day and age, not so much, but that without them understanding why you're there or what's going on. Number 4, mailers lack flexibility. We kind of talked about this a little bit, but mailers take weeks to get into the mail stream, and that can be a problem. Costs are created before the marketing ever goes out, which means that if something gets in the way, like COVID, then suddenly you have cards that are going out there. They may not be on point or on message anymore, or you may be trying to pull them back and you've already spent money and costs. Online marketing is incredibly flexible. We can run small batch tests. We can change and alter budgets. And if something major happens in the landscape of the area that they're going into, whether that's COVID related, weather related, or things like that, we can change messaging to stay relevant in a very, very short amount of time. The 5th point is that mailers can overwhelm your team. For those of you who have done direct mail, which it looks like about half of you have, you know that if you're doing a fairly large mailing, that you can get a lot of responses, which seems great, but sometimes can be overwhelming. In fact, we find that 80% of the responses tend to come back in that first 48 hours. And that means all of a sudden, you have more responses than you have members or volunteers or Bible workers. And it puts you in a position of just not being able to get out to them quickly and causes even more stress at the interaction points. So with online ads, we can actually control exactly how you're getting those leads. There's that flexibility again, how often you're getting them, and really keep a consistent run and flow of those leads so that your members have consistent relationships and work to be done. Okay, so now we know online ads offer some advantages over Bible study card mailings and other methodologies, but let's just talk a little bit about how paid ads work. If you ever look into paid advertising, it's easy to get overwhelmed. You're going to hear phrases like funnel development, remarketing, bots, dynamic displays, all of these kind of big ideas. All of those are tools, and they're all valuable assets to a marketing department that spends time with those kinds of resources. However, I want to kind of break this down in a way that really hopefully resonates with all of you out there and gives us a framework. We're going to talk about passive, and we're going to talk about active ads. So what are passive and active ads? An active ad is an ad that is actively searching out their audience and engaging them until they respond. In online advertising, this relates to many of the social media platforms, including Facebook and Instagram. These platforms focus on audience development to find likely interests and show them ads or reach. That would be how many people see an ad. Then they show ads to that audience numerous times to attain action, which is known as impressions. And then they're all leading to a scripted result of some kind of result or conversion. So done correctly, you work with the platform to protect your budget by focusing on an audience to conversion, and that's the format. Now, passive ads are different. Passive ads are waiting for the audience to seek them out. Good examples of those, as you can see on the screen, are Google and Yelp. So somebody is actively searching out information, and now we are finding a way to connect with them at that moment of interest on their side. These ads do have higher conversion, but they also have a higher cost because somebody in that moment is saying, this is something I'm interested in, and that can create a higher costing platform. With passive ads, the audience is out there, you're finding relevant keywords to try and find them when they are looking for things. You're also doing that curated ad copy, so you're trying to match your ad copy to their terms and how you're connecting with them online. All right, so let's go a little deeper into active ad campaigns. Active ads can cause a lot of confusion because they are a secondary platform. So Google, it's pretty quick. You see ads show up because you're searching for something and it feels organic in its nature. But when people are on platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, they're not on there to see ads. They're on there to see posts and to like things and tweets and all of that, but they're not there for ads. So social media platforms have two paths for connection, and that can be confusing for a church when they're trying to figure out how to manage those. One is sponsored, one is organic. So organic is that relational side. It's those posts. It's getting you out there as a brand, essentially. That is something that we are not going to be talking about today. That is something we believe is best handled by the local church. There is an entire industry out there that can help you figure out what voice you should have online and how it works. The reality is everybody struggles in this modern day with this idea of how to reach your current members and the people that are affectionate towards you as a brand and as a church, but still appeal to new people. It's very difficult to hit that line, and it causes paralysis for churches all the time, and we hear about it all the time. So what we're going to talk about are sponsored ads. That's a way to kind of skip around the organic side. You need that, but a lot of times, again, that platform is really there for your members and your members' friends. It's not for cold marketing. So sponsored ads takes advantage of the traffic that's out there without actually pointing them to your ads. In fact, we have actually spent considerable time in many years hosting a completely dedicated brand that actually interrupts the potential interest from digging into your social media profiles. So what that does for you is it allows you not to have to worry that somebody might be interested in a study, but then go to your website and hear about a potluck or hear the term Sabbath, which they may not be familiar with, and then walk away from that. We have a separate profile and a separate whole brand that's wrapped around this idea of creating conversion and improving that cost per interest. And we utilize that for all of our campaigns. Let's talk about the effective key components for an active ad for a minute. If you wanted to run active ads yourself, this is what you'd have to know about. The first piece of that is called ad testing. Everyone kind of understands the basic concept of ad testing, but there are a lot of subtleties to engaging somebody because these people weren't even looking for the item of interest that you've placed. So how do you write an ad? How do you make an ad that attracts people and actually gets high conversion without wasting a bunch of dollars? And that just really comes down to having an effective ad testing campaign. What you have to do is called multivariate testing, which online advertising is a very powerful tool for, but takes some level of expertise to work through the combinations of titles, descriptions, calls to action, imagery, all of those different things that you have to kind of mix together. What we see all of the time is that a small tweak to a word or keeping the same description but using a different image can increase conversion rates really by enough to make a huge difference in a budget. So that's a big part of what we do, and that's ad testing. The second piece of that is audience development. We talked about how important the audience is in an active ad campaign, and so it's very important that you understand how to develop an appropriate audience. There are a couple of ways to do that that we can talk about a little bit later, but just know that when it comes to an audience, geolocation is one of those fancy words in the marketing world that's very easy for anyone to do. You can target ads to a specific location, zip code, area. But that doesn't develop the kind of audience we're talking about here. What we're talking about is developing an audience that is built on something more. So a lot of times people move into what's called preferences. So a preference in Facebook is somebody who likes something else, so they might like what you like. But what preferences really apply to something like a Bible study? That can be very challenging. The third option there is to build from a previous audience. And this is where we have a lot of strength because we've been doing this for years. You can build off of an existing audience called a mirror audience and bring that into place so that even in a new geolocation, they can find similarities between those people from your previous audience. And we have thousands and thousands of people that have responded to these types of ads, which is only increasing the ability for us to improve performance at any new location without having to take all that time for testing and learning all those same lessons. So the third key component to an active ad that I want to talk about is comment management. So although comments in posts are different, people can still comment on ads in Facebook. They can still react to them on Instagram. And so this causes a very unique situation that you don't find in most advertising, where you actually have to manage the brand of your ad. And that can be very, very difficult. We have actually seen opportunities where a member of a local church got into flame wars with people who were commenting on ad campaigns, causing a detrimental effect to the ad and to the goal of that ad as well and the conversion. So, we recommend that you look at it very carefully. It's a tough balance. You are trying to protect the comments from getting too negative, but you want to let some of those more provocative comments stay on there because you'll actually find defenders out on the web who want to protect the idea of maybe the value of the Bible or those kinds of things. And it actually increases the awareness of your ad, increases the engagement of your ad. So comment management becomes a very powerful tool when you're dealing with active ads. Okay, so that's active advertising. So you need to do testing. You need to make sure you build an appropriate audience, and you need to manage comments in a way that still continues to allow that ad to be a powerful asset as it moves in and out of other people's feeds and in and out of other people's paths that they were not searching for. All right, so let's take a look at the difference between that and the passive ad. So on passive ads, it's a very different program. Passive ads are powerful because you're reaching somebody at their moment of inspiration, but now you have to figure out how. In fact, Google, it's so powerful that Google does 3.5 billion, or I should say we do 3.5 billion searches per day on Google. So that's how many times a day somebody's hitting that. But what's the keyword they're searching for? What are they looking for? And how do you create a sophisticated system to manage that? So keyword research becomes the first and foremost piece to a passive ad campaign. There are certain simple things you should do with the passive ad campaign if you're running one yourself. One is you can protect your own brand through running ads based on your own keyword search. You can take the name of your church and you can put that into an AdWords campaign, and now you can control what it says and how it says it in a way that's different than what we would call organic or SEO, which is just the ability for you to show up at the top. It is likely your church does not show up at the top if somebody searches church in your community, but if they search the specific name of your church, you likely show up at the top. But what feeds out of the metadata and what feeds on that is harder to control than when you build your own ad. So a lot of times it's a great idea for any business, church, organization, ministry of any kind to go ahead and actually build a keyword campaign that they can protect their brand that way. But when you're running ads, it's a little bit different. You have to figure out how people are searching for things. So, I just did a little research today as we were looking around, and you realize that across the US, more people are searching for the word purpose than they are for the word hope. And that means that the way that you handle those ads and which keywords you're using and which ads you run make a difference. You want ads that are more based on this idea of purpose over hope. It tells us a lot about what people across the country are doing and what it is that they're searching out. And that tells us where their mind is, and we apply that to a lot of the other ads that we run on the active campaigns as well. The second thing is kind of a fancy marketing word, long tail keywords. Long tail keywords just means that if you want to save money, you can't go after the big keywords. Just a simple example, if you said, I want to show up every time somebody searches in my area for the word Bible, you're going to run into a lot of people that may or may not be a good fit for a Bible study. However, who wrote the Bible and trustworthy Bible study are actually highly searched terms. And if you specifically target those, you won't waste your money on everyone who might be searching for something else related to the Bible, even something that has that whatever your ad is would just be a bad fit for. Knowing that somebody who wrote the Bible, knowing that you're inviting them into a Bible study could be a powerful tool, especially if your ad speaks to that particular question or concern. And we can do that. Ad bidding is the third one, and that just ties in the other two pieces. That's the ability to figure out how much you should pay for each time your ad is seen. That's our third point. And you can utilize a budget differently with these kinds of campaigns, and you really can just waste money being seen a lot of places with no effect. There are ways, it is an auction-based system, so finding that long-tail keyword that somebody isn't spending as much money on that's more specific to your area is a powerful tool in keeping those costs down. So passive ads really are about figuring out how to be in the right place when someone is looking. Active ads are about being in the right place when they didn't even know that they were interested. So let me just set up a scenario to show you how powerful these things are. A good campaign really does require both forms of marketing. So let's just imagine somebody at home, worn down by the stay-at-home order that we're all stuck with at this point. What are they going to do to connect to the world? They're probably unlikely to be checking their mail on a regular basis and just going through it and reading it deeply. Right now, they're probably scrolling through Facebook or looking through stories on Instagram. And that's where those active ad campaigns can continue to be there, speaking the language that is current to the situation we are all facing and really reaching out to those people. However, later, that same person might find out that a friend has maybe got coronavirus or they heard some bad news that just happens because we live in the world that we live in. And suddenly they start to have deeper questions. And they start to ask phrases like, is God real? Why do I feel hopeless? And that's where curated ads on the other side can show up right at the right time and answer that question for them and engage them. That is the power of online advertising, is that we have the potential to reach people oftentimes before they even know they are looking for answers about God if we do our jobs correctly. Okay, so that is online advertising as an overview with the passive ads and the active ads. And I'm going to guess this all sounds probably pretty intimidating. This is my career, and honestly, it moves really fast. We have a number of people here on the team that handle different aspects of this because it changes all the time. What I gave you as a big overview doesn't even dive into those tools we mentioned earlier and how quickly those components can change. So it's our opinion that churches really don't want to be handling this most of the time because it is an all-day event. And so we had a solution. And that is why we created the all-new InterestGenerator. Larry, can we just take that other poll now?
Yeah, so we have another question for you. What do you think is the average cost per lead for a Bible study card mailing? So cost per lead is cost per response. When somebody returns the card and says, I'd like to study the Bible, that would be a lead. What do you think the average cost per lead is for a Bible study card mailing? So I've got 5 options that we put here: $35, $47, $56, $72, and $95.
All right. Well, before we get to that answer, and we will say in a minute what you guys voted and what's going on there, I do want to address something as we go into talking about our all-new interest generator. There were some of you that stated that the way that you handle interest generation in the past, one of the ways was with our older original interest generator program. So if you haven't already talked to somebody here, there's a couple things I feel I need to say. The first is I want to thank you. Like any marketing, we are learning lessons as we continue forward. The first year, in so many ways, was a beta test. We got a lot of leads and did a lot of good work out there. But at the same time, we were learning lessons throughout that entire process. And you guys have been so patient with us as we did that. So I just want to say thank you. And if you haven't already talked to somebody regarding the new program or heard from somebody, you will. Feel free to contact our campaign managers and they'll go over it. Our goal is that you will get more than you got previously, and we'll make sure that you're taken care of for being an early adopter with us and giving us your trust for your marketing. Meanwhile, let's talk about the new, all exciting and all new interest generator. And let's start with our new video that talks about that.
You want to meet people in your community ready to study the Bible. But Bible study card mailings are losing effectiveness and always seem to reach the same crowd. Meet the all-new Interest Generator from SermonView Evangelism Marketing. Interest Generator is a year-long online program that guarantees your church Bible study requests every single month. How does it work? You choose the number of leads you would like per month. This can be based on the size of your community or the size of your Bible coaching team. We'll target your location and set up an online campaign that can be seen on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, as well as on Google searches for biblical topics. Then, when people respond to your offer, you'll get their contact information as soon as it is received. With Interest Generator, you'll receive regular updates about your marketing, including regular meetings with a marketing expert who manages your campaign. Most importantly, we guarantee you'll see results every single month. Your campaign will be managed throughout the year. The offer will always be focused on requesting a Bible study, so you can be confident that every request is genuine. Plus, you can keep track of your requests with our free InterestTracker software. Use this online tool to log all of your interactions with every interest and invite everyone on the list to upcoming events at your church. With Interest Generator, every month you'll hear from new people in your community hungry to study God's Word, guaranteed. Get started today. Sign up at InterestGenerator.org.
All right. So what is Interest Generator? It, as stated, is a year-long program that blankets your area with a combination of both the passive and the active marketing platforms that we discussed to help find interests at the right moment. And I love the word find because that's really what we're doing. We're finding people. We're not just sitting there. It's an active program that helps do that. And it's based on a simple and effective promise of guaranteed leads per month, which is a big distinction from the old program, at a low cost. Okay, so let's look at that poll data real quickly. What do you think the average cost per lead for a Bible study card mailing is? The winning answer that you guys gave was $95. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry that you've had that experience. That may be real. It can be because there's no testing and there's other issues. We have a couple of people that have gotten down to $35. That is a believable number as well. Realistically, the average out there edging towards the side of being nice to Bible study card mailings is $47. So it's $47 on average using the standard mechanisms of Bible study card mailings that exist today. That's through our agency, that's through other agencies. That's the number we've seen and heard consistently from ministry leaders and other people that we've been able to target. So how does this compare? Well, InterestGenerator guarantees leads to you every single month at as low as $20. So we are guaranteeing leads, which does not happen with Bible study card mailings, for $20. So other methodologies, TV, radio, door hangers, things like that, they don't even come close to this cost. This is the lowest cost way that you can generate cold marketing leads in an area. And again, that cold marketing means people that are not already connected to a member of your church or connected to some portion of your organization. So there are some big differences between this program and the old one. I know a lot of you didn't participate in the old one, so I don't want to go too far down that road, but here's some big things. We believed originally that we needed to create offers of value, meaning DVDs and books, instead of going directly after the idea of Bible studies. But over the year, we've been able to figure out some methodologies of marketing. It's a combination of voice in the ads. It's a combination of marketing techniques and styles that have allowed us to go directly after Bible study card mailings. And so that's one of the big things. We're also now adding all of these passive and active techniques throughout the year. So that makes it substantially stronger than the old program, which did not utilize some of these and had a higher cost because we were including direct mail. We're also giving you a dedicated marketing coordinator. You're going to meet with them throughout the year. You're going to get to talk to them about what's going right, what's going wrong, the challenges you're facing. And we're going to, again, dynamically move your campaign around some of those conversations and what's happening. We're also going to give you a regular report so you're not left in the dark and you have something for your board members to talk about the effectiveness of this program for you. We're handling all the daily work. We manage the comments, we manage the campaigns, we do all of that. You guys simply receive your leads and we go from there. All right, let's take a look at the program's flow. Let's take a look at what IG really looks like on a day-to-day basis. So basically, we're going to build out a campaign for you on these multiple platforms depending on your level of participation. And we can talk about that later in the question and answer component. But we have different platforms, and depending on your level of participation and based on your needs of leads, we're going to be putting those campaigns together for you. Then, number two, when an interest sees your ad for a Bible study, they're going to respond with what we're going to say is a minimum level of contact information. I'm only saying that because there are certain things we can't ask for because it really creates what's called friction in marketing and is a problem. At a minimum, you will always get address and email address. Hopefully, you're going to get phone number most of the time in that process, but understand that somebody may have a hard time understanding how receiving a Bible study lead requires a phone number. And so that is up to them whether they leave that for you or not. We also now ask them to confirm this number three, their intent, so no accidental entries can happen. And after that happens, then they receive an email informing them of what happens next. So now they've said, yes, I definitely want a Bible study. I've confirmed, and I've received an email that tells me what is going to happen next. Now, we have a template for that email, and we have some great suggestions about what to do with that email, but every campaign can have a customized email for your church if you have specific things you want to tell them that happens next, or set the framework. Again, that interactive relational model that we talked about with online marketing, it's all possible with the new InterestGenerator. Then we send a lead to you or your coordinator via email and add that lead into our free InterestTracker software. The software allows you guys to move not have to rely solely on email, which is good because we have heard a couple incidents of emails getting caught in junk folders, things like that. So you have two methods for receiving those leads and interactions as well. Now, since that is, and at that point, then you follow up with them. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that follow-up could look like at the end here. But I do want to give Larry an opportunity to talk about InterestTracker.
All right. InterestTracker is the complete online CRM for managing interests on their way to membership, managing interactions with each interest. Once you have an InterestTracker account, we can set it up so that all your InterestGenerator leads flow automatically into your InterestTracker account. Up in the top right, there's a item that's called integrations, and this shows you any integrations that are currently set up with relevant seminars pre-registration platform, as well as any lead generation campaigns, including InterestGenerator. Now, this automated import helps you avoid duplicate data entry. It helps you avoid typographical errors. When an interest is imported, it also sets up a request in InterestTracker for whatever was offered. And you can see your offer request list here under interests. If we go there, we see 6 people have requested Discover Bible Guides. And we can drill down into this. Let's take a look at Alexandria. And this was all imported automatically from the InterestGenerator request. And we can see in the section here about offer requests, we can just mark this right now. We can mark it as delivered. We can say it was delivered yesterday and Harold delivered it. We can say sent it via email. And now let's also add a follow-up for this as well. Let's follow up with Alexandria next week. Check in about lesson 1 and offer lesson 2. And we're going to assign this to Walter to follow up. So we mark it as delivered. And now in Alexandria's record here in InterestTracker, we can see that the offer request, when it was requested, when it was delivered, who delivered it, and there's an interaction that has been recorded here that Discover Bible Guides were delivered, and it says that they were sent via email, and we have a follow-up item that's already set up with the follow-up date, and it's been assigned to Walter. Here on the offer request list, you can, if you wanted to do it directly in here, you can actually mark someone as having received the delivery right from this list. And we also have our to-do list that shows now Alexandria has an item that Walter needs to follow up here. So that is InterestTracker. InterestTracker is free. You can sign up for a free account at InterestTracker.org. And if you do sign up for InterestGenerator, make sure you let us know if you have an InterestTracker account, and then we can set up that integration for you.
Please check out InterestTracker. Even if you don't use the all-new InterestGenerator, it's a powerful tool for tracking interactions that we've really put a lot of heart and soul into, and we hope you guys really find value in that. All right, I know a lot of people wanted to really hear about this last subject, and I want to move quickly. We broke our time barrier a little bit, but we talked about InterestGenerator, we've talked about online ads, but the question we get the most right now from all of our current churches that we're working with is, how do we respond to leads in the middle of the stay-at-home order and into the foreseeable future? So I have a couple of thoughts here, and these aren't just mine. I've talked to thought leaders, ministry leaders on this subject. And these are just a couple of the points that came up out of those conversations that I think are really important for you guys to hear and to train your team on. The first one is start with a choice. And what we were talking about with these other leaders is the idea that people aren't comfortable being told what to do. We can see that right now in the world of COVID right now, and how people are reacting to that. And right now, people are on their guard. So giving people options, so by using email or phone, contacting them, and just with the call being a way of saying, what would work for you? You requested a Bible study. Now, would you like it by mail? Would you like to take an online study? Would you like to do a one-on-one Zoom meeting? Whatever the options are that you guys can offer, go ahead and prepare those options and then just make that the initial point of contact. By giving somebody choice, you really empower them to control the relationship in a positive way. And really, I think you're going to find that you get a much higher positive response rate from the people that have checked in. Number 2, investigate their needs. Especially right now, this one's very, very powerful. It's easy for us to focus exclusively on someone's spiritual health, especially if we don't know a lot about them. And especially because we're not necessarily reading their signals, those body language pieces you get from personal contact. If you're doing a phone or email, just remember to line up those questions to find out how they're doing with their physical needs. How's their situation with their job? How's their isolation? Why are they responding to this? What other ways can you guys serve them and just talk through things with them? That's going to really open up an opportunity to build into that deeper relationship. That's just a couple of questions. And we know it's really easy to do right now because everyone is in some way dealing with a shared experience. Number 3 is we're telling people act fast. And this is just true in general. It's always unfortunate when we hear about people that haven't reacted to interests or leads in a long time. But this is especially true for online advertising. And the reason is because of a syndrome that's been deemed the Amazon syndrome. So any kind of online activity is in some ways lower friction. And that lower friction means it's easier to forget. We've all had the experience, potentially, of going onto Amazon and buying something with the one-click button where you don't have to put your credit card in or think about it anymore. Suddenly it comes 2 days later and you can't even remember what you might have ordered. This is very similar with a response. Even though they're being asked and they're receiving emails, then they're still, if you wait too long, they're going to forget. Or another issue is that the thing that's really driving them may have changed in that process. So just make sure, this is why we limit the number of leads that you receive on a monthly basis and we don't glut you with them, because this allows you to reach out to people in a consistent and timely manner. Super important right now. And then the 4th one, this is just a good rule for any kind of interactivity through phone or email, and that is to follow up with a purpose. Don't just bug people. So if you don't know why you're calling them or how it benefits them, then you're probably going to have an uncomfortable experience. If you just call somebody and say, "So what'd you think?" Or "Are you interested?" That feels very cold and salesy and makes it really about you. So it's just being prepared to have a reason to call, to find out how they handled the login process. If they said they want to handle it online, your second call isn't, "Did you do it?" It's, "Hey, did you need anything with that online process? Did it go well for you?" Sometimes it can be confusing. Those kinds of little points of care can go a long way toward building long-term relationship and break down walls that, quite frankly, if somebody says they want to do an online study, that may be a wall for them. But 2 or 3 contexts where you call them with a purpose that's related to them, you can break that wall down and have a real genuine interaction with them. So, all right, we have covered a lot today. And if you do need more information, there's a bunch on InterestGenerator.org, or you can call a team member at the number on your screen. But we do want to leave a little time. I know we've gone over, so we'll keep it fast. Thank you, guys. I'm seeing that you're all pretty much, for the most part, staying with us. I really appreciate that. Let's dive into those questions.
Yeah, so we've got more questions than we're going to be able to answer. I want to knock out some of the easier ones just really quickly here. One question: is InterestTracker available only to churches in the NAD? InterestTracker is designed for use in the United States and Canada. If you can find a way to use it outside the U.S. and you'd like to do that, then you're welcome to do that. We also work with school marketing. Yes, we do. Stay tuned. We actually have a pretty cool project we're working on. You'll hear more about that in the coming weeks.
Yes. We want to focus on this program and get it fully running, but we have some exciting stuff coming up soon.
Is there a presentation from SermonView to show to the church board?
The church board, that's a great question. So we do have now a number of flyers, and obviously you guys saw our little video. This webinar will be available to you guys as well, but we are working harder. That's something that is requested a lot, to try and put those materials together. If you want to find out what materials we have, call the number, talk to a campaign manager, somebody on our team, and they will help you just kind of assemble those materials so that you guys can have those conversations. It's even possible, depending on when the meetings are, that somebody from our team could jump into a phone call or a Zoom meeting with you guys and answer some of those questions as well. We're here to serve, and we want to convey how great this program is. We're super excited about it.
Is there a certain Bible study format or marketing tool that you recommend?
Bible study format, no. So we really, the beauty of this program is we leave a lot of flexibility. That can be at the church level all the way down to the Bible study coordinator level. Whoever is really making that decision, whether you guys have only set ones or if you're really looking at the specific needs. I would tell you, have a couple that you are personally excited about if you're one of the coordinators or you're working with the interests. Make sure you've gone through them and you understand them, and then make sure that you are giving somebody something that directly relates to them. You know, when their interest is related to, you know, prophecy, then there are studies that really start there. There are other studies that start in other places, and I think you need to make sure that you're helping, you know, you're not forcing the wrong study at somebody. But we leave those options open because there's a lot of great studies out there, and we are not content providers. There's tons of ministries that do an amazing job of that. Our job is to find people that are hungry to study the Bible, and every time they'll be doing that on some sort of ad related to just a Bible study. We don't give them the specifics in the ad.
Here's another question. Are platforms such as Facebook saturated with advertising of all kinds, especially during this COVID-19 time period? I actually saw research recently in the Wall Street Journal. Facebook advertising is down. So if you do Facebook advertising today, you're actually not going to be competing with as many advertisers or with as many ads as before. Now, you may not have noticed that in your Facebook feed, but overall, Facebook advertising is actually down right now.
Well, here's the reality. Corporate budgets are down in marketing in general because of their situation. Now is an amazing time as a ministry because corporate budgets are down because people are hurting. This is an opportunity for us to fill that gap with a message that really connects and relates with people. So I'm personally, we've seen numbers just going up. We had 1,500 interest leads in the last 30 days alone. So it's doing fine. It's doing fine.
Another question is about costs.
There are 3 different models. We are sticking to these models. There's some flexibility, but not in certain points. It is solely because we want to be able to scale this across the entire country, and customizing this program too much does not allow for that. You can request 5, 10, or 15 leads per month. It is based on your area. Obviously, to exaggerate here, if you lived in a town of 20 people, I can't get you 10 leads per month. Not going to happen. So we do have to look at some factors to see what's right for you. You'll also notice that Google Campaign is included in some, Twitter is included in some, and if you scroll down a little more, custom landing page is included in some. You can add those for different levels of packages. Remember, that's an annual amount of money. So when you really look at the cost per month, it's a very, very low cost to have a program that is connecting the entire year and getting you guys consistent connection and relation to your community. And one other thing, the custom landing page, if you guys get that, you guys can advertise that any way you want. The leads we guarantee are coming from our marketing sources, not from you guys. Go ahead and do whatever you want to get more additional leads. We're going to go ahead and hit our guarantees with you anyway.
All right, let's do 2 more questions. Can you talk about rural marketing leads versus larger cities?
So again, it really just comes down to the number of people in a given area. People are using the internet, Facebook, all of these lead mechanisms, Google, everywhere in the country. So there's no issue with that kind of adoption. It's just a numbers game. And so we can only offer certain programs based on those numbers. If you're in a city, you might start with just a small 1 mile radius or a zip code. If you're in a rural area, you may need to go out 5, possibly even 10 miles. You know what works for your members, but it's also a question of just what works population-wise. If you do not qualify for InterestGenerator because you just don't have enough people in your area, we can offer some of these resources outside of the guarantee, but InterestGenerator includes a guarantee, and we can't offer that if your area is too small. But we can still serve you, and we're still getting leads at very similar cost structures. So you can feel free to give us a call and talk to a team member about that. One more, Larry, what you got?
All right. How do you creatively manage online advertisements for your Bible studies without making it redundant to the public?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that is why every single campaign now has a coordinator. And the coordinators do have a limited portfolio that they work with. So what you have is the advantage of people learning together and at the same time, but they're individually managing these. And that's why we're now giving you an opportunity at given spacing, depending on which program you're involved in, to meet with that coordinator so they can hear your concerns or your wins and what's going on with your program, as well as share data with you. It gives you an opportunity to have that kind of interactive response with us. But we are putting a particular person on your campaign, and they will be managing that so that we know how it's doing. And all the responsibility is on us. If the cost per lead goes up, you don't have to deal with that. You're in a set program, and it's our responsibility to make sure that we're giving you what we promised you.
Just want to say thank you for joining us for the webinar today. We're just so honored to work with you and with church leaders all throughout North America and around the world. Please let us know what we can do to serve you with event marketing, evangelism, event marketing, with Bible study interest generation. Look, our heart's desire is to see your local congregation grow, real kingdom growth. And our prayer is that our joint efforts together will result in a great harvest for his kingdom. So again, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, everybody.